Hey everyone, and welcome back to today's Explainer. I am so pumped to have you hanging out with me today. Go ahead, grab your coffee, get comfy, because we are going on a really fascinating journey straight into the hidden engine room of a modern state. We aren't just skimming the daily headlines today, no way. We're going to unpack the deep structural architecture running behind them. Ready? Let's jump right in. Okay, I want you to imagine this for just a second. If the right to know a political candidate's criminal history is considered a strict fundamental right, and the right to reject all candidates using NOTA is totally protected as a form of free speech, then why is the actual act of choosing your candidate still just a statutory permit? It's a massive constitutional paradox, isn't it? When you really sit down and think about it, in the world's absolute largest democracy, the very act of casting that choice hangs on a surprisingly thin legal thread. To make sense of that, we kind of have to look at the big picture. See, a modern state is like a massively complex machine. You turn just one tiny gear, and boom, you impact the survival of millions. You really can't look at a single policy in total isolation. So today, we're breaking down 4 interconnected layers of this machine: your rights, your identity, the state's welfare system, and our ecology. Let's start with your rights and try to get to the bottom of this whole voting paradox. So what exactly is a fundamental right? Well, think of it as this unbreakable core titanium shield that the government literally cannot take away from you. It protects your core existence. A statutory right, though, that's more like a temporary government permit. It's handed out by an act of parliament, and honestly, it can be amended, paused, or just completely revoked at any time. And right now, our system treats your right to vote as just a permit. It's just a piece of paper that the legislature hands out and can, theoretically, alter whenever they want. Actually, ever since 1952, the Supreme Court has consistently viewed the right to vote as merely a statutory privilege. But a really powerful recent editorial argues that voting shouldn't be a permit at all. It absolutely must be a shield. Now, why does this matter to us? Well, because a democracy without a constitutionally protected voter is kind of like building a massive skyscraper without a solid foundation. It cuts right to the very basic structure of our Constitution. If the foundation is just a temporary permit, the whole skyscraper is at a massive risk of shaking. All right, let's shift gears to our next layer, identity. See how all this builds? India is currently gearing up for the Census 2027 rehearsal, which, by the way, will be our first ever completely digital census. We're finally moving away from those massive stacks of paper to tablets and servers. But the real game changer here is the inclusion of an open column for caste, meaning respondents can just tell the enumerator whatever they believe their caste is, with zero reliance on a preset drop-down list. It's literally a free text box for human identity.
But here is the administrative nightmare. 4.6 million. Or 46 lakh. The last time an open column was tried in the 2011 socioeconomic census, citizens returned 46 lakh uniquely different caste names. Think about that for a second. Because identity means vastly different things depending on which corner of this beautiful, incredibly complex country you're standing in. A name in one village might mean something entirely different just 50 miles down the road.
So, it brings up this ultimate puzzle. How in the world do you turn millions of self-identified, highly emotional names into clean, actionable data for social justice? This is exactly where society directly collides with governance. It really shows us how modern digital tech struggles against deep-rooted, complex cultural realities. I mean, processing that much unstructured human identity into fair welfare policies, that is definitely going to be the defining administrative puzzle of our next decade. Now, zooming out to the welfare layer and how the state actually operates day to day. Right now, there's a massive federal friction point brewing over the National Food Security Act. The Tamil Nadu chief minister is officially pushing back against a center-proposed amendment on exactly how food grains are distributed to our poorest families under the Antyodaya Anna Yojana. When you are managing food security for literally millions of people, even a tiny little tweak in the rules creates massive, massive waves across state borders.
Let's just do the math together real quick so you can see exactly what the fuss is all about. Under the old rule, every eligible household gets a flat 35 kilograms of grain, no matter their family size. The new proposed rule, however, shifts this to a per capita basis, meaning 7 kilograms per person. So imagine a small family of 3. Old rule, 35 kilos. New rule, they drop all the way down to just 21 kilos. That is a massive hit to their monthly food security. Just think about the real-world impact of this kind of standardization on a family where rice is the absolute staple for all 3 meals. Plus, think about the irony here. This effectively punishes states that have been highly successful in family planning and actually have smaller household sizes.
It's a perfect real-world example of the cooperative federalism debate. National standardization is clashing hard with regional demographics. It really highlights how a one-size-fits-all approach often struggles in such a highly diverse union.
All right, let's pan out to the global perspective now, the ecological layer. We have fresh projections warning that a looming super El Niño is threatening to severely strain India's entire power grid. This perfectly illustrates how a massive global climate threat mechanically disrupts the internal day-to-day operations of the state. We aren't just insulated in our own little bubble, you know? The global climate is literally a primary gear in our national machine.
Just to grasp the severity of this, June ended with a massive 40% rainfall deficit. 40%! And July is currently forecasted to stay below normal, too. This isn't just a casual weather update where you need to remember to carry an umbrella. We are talking about a systemic economic shock. A 40% drop touches everything from the food on your plate to the lights in your living room. Let's walk through the domino effect here. Below normal rainfall leads directly to depleted water reservoirs. Low reservoirs, well, that means a massive drop in clean hydropower generation. So when green energy drops, we are forced to burn way more coal just to meet the brutal summer heat demand, which absolutely strains our economy and spikes our carbon footprint. It's wild to think how a weather pattern way out in the Pacific Ocean dictates the emissions of a local power plant right here in India, isn't it? Everything is so deeply connected. Okay, before we wrap up today, we absolutely have to talk about this incredible breakthrough in science. The US FDA has just approved a drug called Vicdestrant for advanced breast cancer. Now, why is this a big deal? Because it uses PROTAC technology. Guys, this is the absolute cutting-edge frontier of targeted biotechnology. It is completely redefining what we consider treatable in modern medicine. To picture how this works, think of traditional drugs kind of like a pair of handcuffs. They just bind to a harmful protein to temporarily stop it from working. But PROTACs, they are like cellular garbage disposals. They don't just stop the protein, they actually tag it, drag it over to the cell's internal waste bin, and completely destroy it. This innovation is finally letting us target diseases we used to think were completely undruggable. It's basically like sending in a highly specialized cleanup crew instead of just a security guard. So, how do we turn all this chaos into a rock-solid study plan? Listen, if I were sitting down with my coffee to prep today, here is exactly what I do. First, definitely prioritize that voting rights editorial for your GS2 notes. It is absolute gold for understanding constitutional foundations. Next, for GS3, consciously link that El Niño report to your geography and environment concepts. And for prelims, go brush up on the history of the census and the exact structural mechanics of the National Food Security Act. Make those connections crystal clear in your mind. Always remember, you don't need to be a walking encyclopedia of daily headlines. You just need to see the connections. Once you understand how a changing climate alters a power grid, or how a digital census reshapes social justice, you are thinking like a true administrator. Stay curious, stay consistent, and remember, conceptual clarity is your superpower. But I'll leave you with this to think about today. As our technology and climate rapidly evolve, is our current constitution equipped to handle the state of tomorrow? Thanks for joining me on The Explainer today, and I'll catch you in the next one.